Intertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
And I've been studying blues history for years and years, and going to shows and listening to music, of course. And there's a lot of songs about death and dying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of honesty and integrity in the music genre. I mean, it's just part of life, but we do our best to escape it and to avoid it and to pretend it's not going to happen to us. And it's just a matter of fact reality, but it's really difficult to journey it, to think about it, to want to deal with it at all. And all of a sudden I'm here at a funeral, and I was shocked at how different. I mean, I'd attended a couple funerals in my life before this, and it was just night and day for me. And even my aunt, she was the most settled, just very much at peace. And you could see the difference of what faith in Jesus made for her.
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
Some peace of mind. If one day again I'd feel the summer's breath. Oh, summer, throw your arms around me. I want to see the sun again. Fill me with your dandelion wine. Summer, throw. Summer, catch me now, I'm falling.
Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome to Intersect. I'm your host, The Train, here, broadcasting live from the Intersect studio in Nashville, Tennessee. We have a great show for you today with a fabulous guest. Before I introduce him, though, I need to take care of business here and thank the people at Pitbull Audio and Studio Instrument Rentals, major sponsors of the Intertalk Radio Network, and to all the people over at Innovative Percussion here in Nashville. They make really great drumsticks, folks. Take my word for it. I love their sticks, love what they do. But today, we have with us one Mr. Glenn Kaiser. He's a Christian musician, singer, songwriter, and pastor. Glenn was the leader of the Resurrection Band, known by their many fans as the Rez Band, and is currently leading a band under his own name, the Glenn Kaiser Band, or GKB, with Roy Montroy on bass and Ed Bialach on drums. Many of you listening to the show today know Glenn from his life in the Jesus People USA community in Chicago and his involvement in the creation of the Cornerstone Music Festival that was held annually around the 4th of July from 1984 to 2012. It had its start at the Lake County Fairgrounds near Grays Lake, where I first met Glenn in Illinois, and in 1991 it moved near Bushnell, Illinois. That was a great location as well. I have to say, maybe my favorite of the two. But anyway, I miss that festival. I miss hanging out with all those great people that converged on that festival every year. And I want to thank you, Glenn, for all your many years of working that festival and just getting people together and keeping us all, on the straight and narrow. And I want to thank you for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Glenn Kaiser, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing well, bro. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And what can I say? A lot of grace, man, over a lot of years. But before you interview me, bro, I don't know if you're fans on even. How did you get the moniker A-Train?
That was 77.
Come on.
So it was that was Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe just, in a moment of creativity and, playing a show, and, it was time for my drum solo. He just blurted out, "Here's the A Train," and it stuck.
Yeah, well, I don't remember you ever giving a big performance at the festival or anywhere else I've seen you. So there you go. All right, my man, fire away, and thanks for the opportunity to. Thanks for the opportunity to chat today, man. Go for it.
Yeah, man. So you're still in Chicago, right?
Yes, sir. Inner city, uptown, which is about our area is specifically about 3 blocks west of Lake Michigan. Let me put it to you this way: it is the last neighborhood melting pot. I mean, just a complete mishmash of every kind of ethnicity, racial background, Hispanic, African American. The Native American Indian Center is about 4 blocks from our building. Thai, Cambodian refugees in the area, hipsters. It goes on and on. We have homeless folks living in tents under the viaduct, under the bridge of Lakeshore Drive, about 2.5 blocks away. We do a lot of work with them, and it is what it is. 9mm. A whole lot of folks shooting at people. Warring over drug turf. Let's just say it's a very interesting place to live.
Yeah, I'll say. But that's where you've always been, right? Since going to Chicago.
I mean, the community began technically up in Milwaukee as an outreach of a group of Jesus freaks in 71, and we had 3 traveling teams, and ours was one of them. And the bro who was in charge, really a good man back in Milwaukee, ended up passing away from cancer, and there was no home base anymore to go back to. And we ended up doing a lot of traveling, and then ended up in the inner city here of Chicago over a Christmas break, visiting relatives around Wisconsin and Northern Illinois and whatever. And people heard we were back in this neck of the woods and invited Rez Band to do shows and, blah, blah, blah. And it became clear that Chicago needed, we didn't, this was the last place a bunch of Jesus hippies wanted to stay, right? But so many people were so broken, and so many people were open to the good news, and we saw so many lives change. It became more of a conviction that this is where we needed to be. And so a couple of local churches, one in particular, opened their doors. They were sort of a dying fellowship with a big old building. And as time went on, we were able to get our own properties, do some renting, and we put together businesses to help support what we were doing. And so we've been in the inner city of Chicago, right here in Uptown. I think we've made like 4 moves, but it's all been right within a couple of miles. And since about March of 72, this has been home.
Great. Now you grew up in Milwaukee, correct?
Yeah, I was born and raised in the sticks, man. And there were 3 generations of German immigrants, and many of them were farmers, right? And so south central Wisconsin, out in the woods and fields and farm country. And then my dad, he kept getting promotions, and then eventually he quit because he wanted to be home with his wife and kids more. Immediately after he got sick, had a series of operations. We lost everything, and we're on welfare for about 3.5 years up there. And it was like hunt and fish and pick berries to eat. So my background is actually more in the sticks in that time. And then when I was 9, moved with my mother and older brother to West Dallas, which is a working class suburb of Milwaukee. And then my parents got a divorce. My mother left my dad, went out to commit adultery and got involved with some guy. And let's just say that from that point on, it was dope, sex, and music for me. That was pretty much my life until I turned 18. But yeah, growing up in that suburb, in inner city Milwaukee, and I hitchhiked to Madison. We all call Mad City, to do dope deals, small time dealing, and blah blah. And so my life was pretty much, literally dope, sex, and music from the time time I turned about 13, 14-ish, right up until I came to saving faith in Jesus, which was like 2 weeks before my 18th birthday.
So when did you start playing in bands and playing music?
Well, I started playing when I was 12, Aaron. Yeah. I was 12 years old, Aaron, and like a lot of people my age saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and freaked out. And I had always sort of been singing. I was afraid of the dark, And at one point when my parents were separated and my brother and sister were out running around outside of a little town called Fox Lake, Wisconsin, before we moved to the Milwaukee area, I would be coming home to a dark house at night. And matter of fact, the lady had hung herself, an old woman, the house right before ours. And that was like the last street light, right? And then I'm in the middle of the dark all the way up the hill to this big old farmhouse, surrounded by fields and nothing, kind of spooky. And I'd be praying kind of and singing. I mean, I didn't know who God was or if God was, and I started singing, and the lyrics would sort of rhyme, and came to find out years later my mother had won singing contests in Milwaukee as a kid, and my dad had actually played soprano sax with Fred McMurray, man, in a dance band
really?
in Wisconsin as a kid. So anyway, it was in my DNA, but I didn't know it. So I pestered my mother at 12 and finally got a guitar and an amp. And the first band, I think I was 13 and started writing. In fact, the first song I wrote at 13 was called "Don't Lie to Me," and that'll tell you a lot about where I'm still coming from in my life. It's it's the integrity factor, right?
So, how did the divorce affect you? I mean, did that lead to the drugs, or was it the band, or was it a combination of both? The music scene, family life, and all that sort of stuff.
Well, it was a combination of all of the above. I mean, I was one of the few guys that could sing that I know of anyway in the metro Milwaukee area. I mean, between like 13 and just about 18, I was in about 16 bands. I started and led one of them, I think, right at the end. And the rest I was singing in, right? But I was always 4 or 5 years younger than everybody else, almost every band and almost every person involved in those groups. And so, people were getting into dope. It was the hippie movement, the freak scene, summer love, and so on. And, look, when there's a scripture that says without hope and without God in the world, and that was me. I had nothing. I didn't trust nobody. And why not go for a little pleasure on the way out? So, little by little, I, did the New Year's Eve, started getting blasted, drinking everything I could, and eventually smoking grass and hash, and then eventually acid. And I did everything except shoot, every way you could do any drug except with needles. And right at the end of all that is when I decided I was going to start running up heroin with needles, and at that point, God showed up. So it was a combination of feeling empty, of completely dysfunctional family. I mean, hey, three quarters, something like that, of the people on my block in that nice little working class suburb of West Allis, Wisconsin, were divorced. There was incest going on with kids. People were, my best buddy, he'd be walking down the street and he'd say, "Which car do you like?" And I'd say, "That's pretty cool." Never even thinking twice about what he was talking about. Later on at night, he'd pick me up. It was dark. I'd get in a car and drive down the road with the dude, and I realized he'd stolen the car. He hotwired it,
Oh, man.
So, I mean, I was hanging with thieves and druggies and crazies, and between the musicians I was hanging with, and when Hendrix said there ain't no life nowhere, that and Dylan's line, "It's a house, not a home," those were the two truest truths that I believed up until I realized who was talking when he said, "I'm the way, the truth, and the life," and he wasn't talking about me. And so, it just took a while. You got to eat gravel.
Yeah.
Some of us have to hit the wall pretty hard, and that's what happened.
Right. Yeah. So how did God show up for you?
Well, a number of things went down. I hate to even mention this because God only knows when it's going to come about. I've been working on an ebook, and if I do it, and if I ever do it and finish it, it deals with about 3 months of that, just 3 months, and maybe a little overlap, not much, of thing after thing after thing that happened. It's a very long story, but when I came to a point of faith in Jesus, it was after a few overdoses and a suicide attempt. And man, at one point, I literally had 2 girlfriends and was in 3 bands at the same time. And I still wasn't satisfied. I wasn't happy. I wasn't at peace in my gut and in my heart. Everybody I knew was essentially a train wreck, just dysfunctional. And I looked in the mirror and realized, I was the biggest misery I couldn't, it's the old Blind Willie Johnson tune I do from time to time. Nobody's fault but mine. You know what I mean?
Nobody's fault but mine. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Nobody put a gun to my head to become an addict. Nobody forced me to make the choices I made. And so, yeah, one night I broke down, and just one little thing that I'll mention that became pivotal. Just before moving to Milwaukee, to the big city from the sticks, some sweet little old ladies hauled me off to a vacation Bible school one summer in a little Lutheran church, man. And every kid had to memorize a verse, right, over those like 5-6 Saturday sessions, and had me memorize John 3:16. And it all came down to this night. I had been kind of white knuckling, not doing dope or drink or anything for a couple of weeks, and among other things, my uncle passed away that night, and a few things went down, and I found myself talking to God out loud and just saying, look, I know you're here. I know you're in this house. I know you're trying to tell me something, and I don't get it. And boom, right then, John 3:16, for God so loved the world, man. All of a sudden, it meant for God so loved Glenn for the first time. Yeah. Like the lights came on. That he gave his only perfect Son, begotten Son, whosoever would believe in him, which means trust in and cling to and rely on, will not perish but have everlasting life. That verse flashed through my mind after all those years. I mean, just out of nowhere. And at that moment, it was like, you're getting ripped off. I wouldn't make this deal. I mean, this is so one-sided. How many people's lives have I ruined? I mean, what a mess I've made of everything. And all I had was a deep sense of grace, of acceptance, of love. And, no angels marching in the room, nothing. And I was as straight as could be. I hadn't done nothing for, as I say, about 2 weeks. And I broke down. And I'll tell you what, when I went with my aunt to my uncle's funeral a few days later, I can't even explain how I felt and how different everything was. He apparently knew the Lord, and she did. And I mean, Glenn, everybody else in that place looked like.
Let's stop right here for a minute. We got to go to a commercial break, and we're going to pick it up right there when we come back, folks. Thank you all for hanging in there and listening. Thank you, Glenn, for being here.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be the music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
Live your life for a change. You ain't gonna take it with you, no. Live your life for a change, and you won't be ashamed. Live your life for a change right now. Make a difference in this world. Make a difference in this world. Make a difference in this world somehow. Don't just do it for yourself. Put your pride up on the shelf. Make a difference in this world somehow.
Amen. Amen, folks. That's my guest, Mr. Glenn Kaiser. And just before we went on commercial break here, Glenn was telling us about his experience at his uncle's funeral after his conversion. And I just want to ask you, Glenn, to just take your time, tell us these stories. We want all the details we can get.
No,
man,
you
that
don't.
first segment.
No, you don't. You really don't want all the details, man. I mean, we would be here till midnight tomorrow. We are
doing another hour.
Aaron, the deal is, I think one of those great defining and refining things is showing up at a funeral. And of course, I don't mean your own. I don't expect to be at mine either, right? But it's one of the things where you see. I mean, you have to judge anybody. Just walk around, just observe with compassion and grace. I mean, I went there for my aunt, whose dear husband of 54 years just had major heart attacks, and that was that. But that night that he passed was the night I came to saving faith. And matter of fact, I asked her if I could join her to go to church on that following Sunday, and she just very warmly, absolutely. I'm telling you what, I understood every word for the first time. I mean, I hardly had anything to do with church before that anyway, but it's just one of those things where people look so shot, so messed over, and people can't wait to get loaded, to get drunk, to do something, get out of there. And it was packed out because he had a lot of friends, and they'd lived some good years, and family members are all there and whatever, and everybody's looking like they got punched in the gut. And of course, they're sad and they're shocked. I mean, this was, I think, his second or third heart attack. So in one way, it wasn't any major surprise. But I think death ups the ante, And it was actually, I mean, I got very involved in singing and playing blues. I played, sang and played harp. I played drums, bass as well, and guitar, of course, and blues bands, slide guitar, and all the rest of it prior to coming to faith. But I mean, studying blues, it never struck me quite as deeply as after all of this happened. And I've been studying blues history for years and years, and reading every book I could, and going to shows and listening to music, of course. There's a lot of songs about death and dying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of honesty and integrity in the music genre. I mean, you know, it's got its schlock and whatever, like every music style, but lyrically there's a lot about death and dying, and it's just part of life, you know, but we do our best to escape it and to avoid it and to pretend it's not going to happen to us. And it's just a matter of fact reality, but it's really difficult to journey it, to think about it, to want to deal with it at all. And all of a sudden I'm here at a funeral, and I mean, I was shocked at how different. I mean, I'd attended a couple funerals in my life before this, and it was just night and day for me. And even my aunt, she was the most settled, you know, I mean, just very much at peace. And you could see the difference of what faith in Jesus made for her. And I shocked myself in the way I felt. I wasn't sure, you know, how I was going to navigate it. And so, that was the beginning of a lot of changes. I mean, I would love to say that all of the addictions just went bye-bye overnight. They didn't. Most of the sexual addictions in my life did. I stopped doing any kind of chemicals. I still got drunk from time to time. I still one of my drugs of choice was hash. We had a lot of opiated and smack-dusted hashish up in my neck of the woods, and back and forth. And so this was in January of 71. By September that year, it was one of those quiet moments. And just in my heart, the Lord just said, hey, you know, I'm not a smorgasbord. I'll take Savior and best friend and merciful, you know, Father, but let's not talk about being Lord of my life, you know, of your life, you know, and you still want to call your own shots, man. This is spiritual kindergarten. I don't want you to be camping here, you know. So all of a sudden, over that 9-month period, you know, a number of things went down in my life where I realized this ain't just pray a prayer and live your life. It really is relationship. And it really is about, if you love me, you'll do what I say. And what he says is pretty clear. I mean, if all you did was take John 15, chapter 15, and, you know, took a bath in that about every day for a month, you'd get exactly what I'm talking about. It's really a love relationship that's lived out. And for me, Aaron, probably the best analogy, and I've used it for a lot of years in a lot of places. You know, Wendy and I, my wife and I, are coming up on 45 years of marriage in June. And
congratulations.
So, I mean, thank you. So what's love got to do with it? Everything, man. Especially God's love, because this woman is the real deal. I mean, yeah, she looks and she cooks, eh? But this woman loves the Lord and knows him, and I love him and know him. And his love is deeper than anything, deeper than friendship, deeper than sexual love, deeper than the fact we've got all these kids and grandkids and so on. I mean, it's deeper than the fact we've been involved in mission and music for years. It's hard to express in words, but as I'll often say, it's like, okay, so I'm married, man, the ink's dry, right? I mean, it's at the courthouse up there in Wisconsin, and I've been wearing these rings for coming up on 45 years. All right. But today, right now, are my thoughts married? Are my eyes married? What I do with other women, other men, my own body, the web, married. I mean, there's married and there's married, right? And so people, a lot of folks say, well, I believe in God, or I prayed the prayer, or whatever. I asked Jesus in my life. That's great. What does that mean? I mean, you got a room full of guitars. You never practice. You never use a tuner. Are you a guitarist? I mean, you may believe in guitars, man, but what does that mean? And so that disconnect that definitely was a part of that first 9 months, and hey, has popped up from time to time ever since. No doubt about that. I need grace and mercy every day. We all do. We're not talking about sinless perfection here, but integrity, honesty. You know what I mean? And this is why I keep coming back to blues. I guess that's part of the reason it's such in my heart and my guts, because there has to be genuineness and authenticity. Otherwise, it's just an act. It's just words. It's just, I don't know. I hear dollar signs coming out my radio or something. You know, it's like, what? So what?
Yeah.
So for me, I guess maybe I think sometimes I didn't do my old life. I'm God, I'm the dude, everything centers around me. I didn't do that on 1 or 2. I did it on 10. And I wasn't going to do Jesus in any genuine way on 3.5. And so, yeah, I'm married, but am I married? I know him, but do I walk with him? And how does his relationship in my life affect how I do what I do, how I interact with other people? And I don't care who they are, you know. Doesn't matter where they come from or what their attitude toward me is. It's on me. It's on me to reflect his love. I mean, and that's the kicker. You know, that's so yeah. It's like we can't sit in kindergarten for the rest of our lives. You know what I mean?
Right. So how did you eventually meet the people in Jupuza, Milwaukee? How did that come about?
I mean, they had a little underground newspaper, right? Back in the day, R. Crumb and, you know, all the cool little rags going around the country. Well, these folks had one called Street Level, and all of a sudden it showed up among a few friends. Somebody that I knew who knew I had made some kind of a commitment to Jesus showed it to me. And it had cartoons and stuff and some scripture and, you know, some Bible study and stuff. And I thought that was pretty cool. Like, okay, these people are downtown, down in the Freak District, down on Brady Street. And, you know, I'd hung out down there a lot, but I didn't know they were anywhere around our area. And so I started hanging out down there. And they had a coffee house. I started showing up. Ended up getting baptized in Lake Michigan in May up in Milwaukee. Let me tell you, bro, that's commitment. We're talking cold, baby. Everything but ice, baby. Oh, that was intense, but it was amazing. It was amazing. And so I started going to prayer meetings, and they'd have bands playing and acoustic players and pretty powerful stuff. A lady from a band called It's a Beautiful Day out in the Bay Area had basically she'd moved on from that band, basically come back to Milwaukee to run up heroin and, you know, go ahead and die. And somebody kept talking to her about Jesus, and she finally gave her life to the Lord and got free from addiction and joined that community. And they had a band called The Sheep. And Mike and Mary Dammer are still at it up in Wisconsin. And some amazing people that I got to know who their whole lives have been turned upside down. I mean, you know, they still wore what they wore as far as clothes and, you know, I mean, culturally and subculturally, music. And I mean, it was no big deal to burn incense or, you know, blow bubbles or go to street concerts or do those things. But they really had a genuine relationship with Jesus. They searched out the scriptures daily. They had a prayer life, and they weren't obnoxious, but they were bold. They were open to sharing their faith, and they did. And so I started hanging out with those guys, and that's how I found out, and eventually moved in, as I say, about the 18th of September of 1972. I graduated in early June, and after back and forth a bit like a yo-yo, like I was saying, in the summertime, I was like, that's it. I quit. I'm done. I need to tune my spiritual guitar, man.
So they had a community there in Milwaukee that's like what you have in Chicago, where everybody was
very
living.
Very similar. Yeah. Okay. Well, there were Jesus houses all over the country, you know, all over the country, and so yeah, they started with just a handful of folks, and it grew and it grew and it grew. And more people were making commitments to the Lord and showing up in the coffee house. And one of the cool things about these folks is they never had an attitude against the traditional churches. They recognized as we have right through till this day, that there are good and godly people and complete yahoos in every church and denomination and house church and Jesus people, including ours. I mean, so nothing surprising, but realized that God was bigger than the church, and that He knows exactly how to write on each of our wall and show Himself to us. And if we're willing to seek Him, He'll show up. And He's been showing up in my life right on through. So there it is,
Amen. Amen. So you join a band there. You meet Wendy there, correct?
Yeah. Well, I met Wendy. Probably the first time I noticed her was in the middle of September. There, a couple of weeks afterwards, after I moved in, and the sheep were rolling along, but they needed another group. There were a lot of opportunities to do concerts. I'm talking parks, beaches, churches, wherever, coffee houses, and university gigs, and blah blah blah. And so people in leadership put a call out, and it's funny because we had a lot of musicians. But after a couple of weeks of really thinking and praying it through, and I'd given all my gear away to them and some other folks I knew, and I just got away from music because music to me had been one more idol. I mean, nobody taught me that, or nobody laid nothing on me. It was just a deep personal conviction that I had to lay it down for a time. And anyway, folks in leadership asked me to pick it up, to give it a shot, and so we put together the origins of what became Resurrection Band, and then Wendy and John and the rest, little by little, and started doing Blow Your Brains In rock. Moved from kind of folky stuff right into Blow Your Face Off rock. Probably about March of '72.
So was there any, was that all right? Did you get any kickback from that?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, look, they loved us or they hated us. I mean, musically, God knows we were just, we had a lot to learn, all of us, including me, even though I've been doing music my whole life. I mean, so, we were pretty flaky, but we did our best. And but it was so unique at that point. There were a handful of bands that were doing full-on rock, putting some sort of Christian worldview or actual scripture into the lyrics and stuff. We were one of those few, and so people loved us or hated us, and literally it went one way or the other. And that included a lot of folks in the churches. And so there were pastors or congregational members that thought they couldn't believe how cool it was, and drug all their friends and enemies to these concerts and stuff. But then there were others that were like, you guys are demonized, you're out of your mind, how can you do that style of music? And I saw it coming before even putting the band together. Actually sat on a hillside with Wendy prior to knowing that she was going to be, or thinking that she'd even be a part of the group. And we were engaged at the time, and I said, honey, if this all happens, there are going to be people preaching against us by name. They're not going to get it, and they're not going to want to get it.
Glenn, we got a break again for a commercial, but hold that thought, folks. Don't go anywhere. This is good stuff here. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on InterTalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on InterTalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
And welcome back, folks. That's my guest, Mr. Glenn Kaiser. And Glenn, before we resume our conversation here, I want you to tell everybody how to get your music. Tell them, give them your website address and all that sort of stuff to get in contact with you.
Yeah, well, the easy thing, my website's www.glennkaiser.com. It's GLENNKAISER. So just glennkaiser.com. You'll find my site. I'm in Twitter. I'm in Facebook. Actually, 3 places in Facebook. My own page, a solo artist page. I do a lot of solo gigs, acoustic blues, cigar box guitar stuff, and so on. And the Glenn Kaiser Band Facebook page. But GRRecords.com, www.GRR, which is 3 R's, and add a 4th R on top of records. So it's like GRRRR Eckers, GRRecords.com, and you can find me and a pile of other artists on our in-house label.
Killer. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, GRR. We said, well, Amy Grant had Myrrh, and so when we came up with a label title, we let's do something with guts, with some teeth in it, man,
Serious?
Yeah, that's where it came.
Is that how that came about?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, some of the ideas for the name of the label were just horrible. So anyway,
Amy's got Myrrh, we got Grr.
Well, anyway, and that's
all right.
That's what people thought about us. I mean, they either were like,
yeah,
come up to get Frankenstein with the pitchforks, or, oh my God, when are you guys going to record, right? So, it's like, we would tell people back in the day, just come up and, bring a good quality machine. And if you get a good quality, reel-to-reel tape back in them days, get us a copy of it or send us the original and please. And, go ahead. So people would stick mics up on the PA and record live shows. I mean, just a bit of Zeppelin in there, all that blues-based stuff. I don't know if you knew this about me, Aaron. My best friend from the 3rd grade up, we moved to West Dallas, a suburb, working-class suburb, Milwaukee. My best friend, I thought he was African-American. Everybody did. Had a fro, looked like Hendrix. And from the 3rd grade right on through graduation, he played bass and guitar, a bit of drums. We played in soul and R&B bands, and I was very involved in blues early on. And anyway, it turned out he was about 99% Hawaiian, I guess. And very dark skin, and I saw how he got treated and how I got treated. And I mean, I'm not mentioning this in terms of your race or ethnicity. I'm simply saying from day one, way before I came to know Jesus, I began to realize that there were issues. And just like the church freaked out over music styles and you can't wear your hair like that and wear those kind of clothes and, you know, run around and sweat and all them light cans and smoke pots going off and slop on the stage, yada, yada, yada. It's all demonic or weird, or as Christians might say, the old nature of the flesh, right? Well, yeah, it can be. It can be. But I'll tell you what else I saw from the ground up way before I came to Jesus, and afterwards, no difference. I saw racism. I saw prejudice against anything that didn't seem, quote unquote, like us, whoever us might be. And I saw it between rural and urban people, urban and rural people. And I lived in both worlds really quite a while, long enough. So I'm actually still, to this day, comfortable in both worlds. Just before I came to really surrender to Jesus, I moved with my girlfriend into an apartment in the core area of Milwaukee, which is, you know, sort of black ghetto, a pretty rough area. And I realized the prejudice, the racism, the stupidity that was happening. And I still saw remnants of that and still do from time to time among folks who at least profess to be Christians. And I'm a student of war and of the U.S. Civil War and of the slave trade. And I mean, being a blues aficionado and even the origin of guitars and even the concept of lament, of minor chords, of blues, of the sense of pain and enemies and the desire for Exodus, you know, Old Testament stuff. I mean, the biggest category in the book of Psalms are Psalms of lament. Well, all of that stuff affected way back when what we wrote lyrically. So we would write songs about apartheid and, the failure of success, and Irish Garden on our first album about the Protestant Catholic divide, which is really more of a racial, ethnic haves versus a have-nots and who's got political control, all of that stuff. So I can tell you now that I think we probably freaked more people out by what we wrote lyrically. And when I would speak, I think maybe more people got freaked out by that than the actual music style. And that's okay with me. Yeah. That's okay with me to this day. Because, I mean, now I'm doing a lot of chaplain's work, and a new project I'm working on is really for prisoners. Lyric after lyric is call response. For a lot of reasons I'm doing that. I still think, I mean, we only can bring what we can bring, and I'm apparently a white guy whose last name is Kaiser, but being steeped in blues and growing up in and dealing with poverty and experiencing things that a lot of white folks in the North never dealt with, I think all that affects what I write and how I think and how I write, and it affects me spiritually, politically, lyrically, and when I go into prisons and jails, I'm in Cook County Jail quite a bit here in Chicago, max security prisons all over Ohio, death row with a couple of dear chaplain buddies of mine. I mean, when you understand how people ended up in the mess that they ended up in, and you also recognize that some of them really are innocent, and in some cases, it's like out of sight, out of mind, man. Just get them off the street. Well, come on, man. I live on Wilson Avenue. We see 4 or 5 people get shot here pretty much annually, and maybe sometimes within a span of 4 or 5 months. And coming out of addiction and small-time dope dealing myself, I get it. So like a song like you just were playing, Save Me From Myself, I mean, I ain't joking, man. I've been there. I did it. I lived it. And so I understand the struggles and the battles, and even among Christians who try to plug in regularly with other believers, I understand the struggles of having honest and genuine relationships with folks. And how do you get along with folks who really think you're an idiot or think you're just a tool or this is just propaganda, man. You're just trying to make a buck, man, off of religion or whatever. Trust me, I've seen, well, most of my life, from 18 till I'm 64 now, man, in and out of clubs, blues shows, festivals, cigar bus guitar gigs, Christian churches, worship gatherings. Come on, man. People are people. It's the same story wherever you go. So all of that shows up in lyrics. It shows up in what I write lyrically, musically, and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm. Man, you got the experience, that's for sure. And,
and it's unfortunate that some of us have to hit the wall before we wake up.
Right. Because you can tell you can tell the real story at that point, you know?
Well, and I think too, I cannot blame. It is not, it's, for me, for somebody else it may be more convenient, you know, their story's different. Mm-hmm. But my journey, dude, I made a whole stack of choices and I continue to make them, and I'm going to give an account for them one day. Mm-hmm. And I totally trust in the mercy and the grace of God. But make no mistake, you know, my issues come down to me. They don't come down to anybody else. But this puts me in a very unique position to where I think it's a little easier for me not to walk in and make this snap, harsh judgment. I mean, you know, doing Sturgis, doing Daytona Bike Week, talking to people out there, man, who some of them are vets coming back with post-traumatic stress syndrome. Jesus people here in Chicago, we have a 480-bed homeless shelter called Cornerstone Community Outreach. The top 3 floors of our 10-story, we have 90 to 100 low-income seniors. And I'll tell you, when you listen, when you really get the story, and I mean, you know, people can shine a line, right? They can say whatever. But when you really spend time with folks and you get to know, you know, the game players from people that are shooting you straight, and you understand why they ended up where they ended up, maybe then that helps also to have a little empathy. And hopefully I'm not even as close to being as cut and dried or harsh or sharp as I would have been in my very young years. You know, boom, 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 boom. You know, but whoa. Put that puppy on safety for a moment, and get into the heart. Where did this person come from? How did they end up where they ended up? And taking that time. And I think as you get older, you learn that. Yeah.
Well, you know, we all make mistakes and we make choices, some good, some bad. And,
daily.
Of course, there's regret. There's regret, you know, at the realization of that, you know, and God knows I have a lot of those too. But I have to say, I'd rather live this life with those experiences and have salvation rather than to have lived a pristine, quote unquote, good life and not know Christ.
I'm totally with you. I mean, 100%. You're right on it. Yeah, I'm sorry when people will say, "Oh, bro, I really," you know, in the church they'll say stuff like, "Oh man, what a great testimony," and I'm like, well, part of it is the end of it. You know, maybe the first part wasn't so much fun, and I don't wish it on nobody. You know, but you know, you're right. You're right. I mean, there's an understanding. You know, it's that old adage. It's from a Furry Lewis tune. You know, what has it been down so long? Even down looks like up to me. You know, I mean, man, yeah. And so when I finally drug in the door and surrendered and quit trying to be my own God, man. Because, of course, we're not good at it. And the position is
not good at it at all. Yeah. And the thing of it is that when you were doing it, you didn't know that you were trying to be your own God. You were just doing your thing, you know. But when you come to the realization that there is a God and there's a God who actually is there and cares and loves you and wants all these great things for your life, but those great things are in the realization of who he is and how you conduct your life and the changing of your heart and your thinking, those great things, not material great things, in a sense.
Major.
But when you get to know that, you realize that you were trying to do it before that. And
but
it was
Aaron,
very difficult.
You and I know, bro, that this is not just about information. It's about relationship. Mm-hmm. It's not theory or philosophy or concept alone. It's not merely some kind of an ethos divorced from a relationship with someone who's living and active and real. And I mean, this is where, I think the early Lutherans said faith is a perturbing thing, because there's the two sides of it. There really is Good Friday before resurrection, before Easter.
Right. Yes.
And it's that surrendering, that trust, as opposed to trying to take. Well, some old wag once said the problem with a living sacrifice is that it keeps trying to crawl off the altar. And we want to take back the controls, man. I got a plan, and I'm looking for God, and anybody who cares. My friends rubber stamp it, and my enemies, want to shoot me and mess me up. And it's like, wait a minute.
Well,
whoa.
Glenn,
Yes,
let's we're gonna come back next week, folks. Glenn has already agreed to that, and it's amazing how fast this time goes by. It's been a great conversation. Glenn, thank you so much, and I really look forward to next week. And folks, be back same time, same station. Thanks.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.